Hello there. Welcome to Stories with Grandma. Let's read Over and Under the Pond. Go ahead and subscribe and let's get started. Look at these pretty end papers with the fish. Over and under the pond. Over the pond we slide, splashing through lily pads, sweeping through reeds. The water's a mirror reflecting the sky, sunshine and clouds, then a shadow below. What's down there, I ask. Under the pond, Mom says. Under the pond is a whole hidden world of minnows and crayfish, turtles and bullfrogs. We're paddling over them now. Over the pond we skim past tall rushes. Whirligig beetles loop and twirl, skaters on a warm summer surface. Under the pond, minnows dart through waving forests of grass, while a brook trout lurks, ready to lunge. There's the minnows, there's the trout, there's the whirligig beetles. Over the pond we lift and dip and pull past a row of painted turtles on a waterlogged tree. 1, 2, 3. They slip off and away. Splash, gurgle, sploosh, under the pond. Over the pond, cattails rustle and shush in the wind. Listen close. Cluck-clary. Red-winged blackbirds race by. One has grass for her nest. Under the pond, a caddisfly larva builds a home of her own, a secret shelter of pebbles and sand. Over the pond, the shadows of trees lean out from the shore. We coast under a low-hanging branch. A moose looks up with a mouthful of water lilies. We've interrupted his lunch. Under the pond, beavers dive deep. They pump with powerful tails and rise to the surface with delectable roots from the mud. Over the pond, the wind gives us a push and stirs the light-dappled leaves on shore. There on a branch, a new goldfish teeters, finally ready to fly. Under the pond, tadpoles are changing, learning to hop. They're losing tails, growing legs, growing up. Over the pond, there at the shore, tall and silent and still, a great blue heron stares down into the deep. It tenses, takes one long-legged step, and strikes. It catches a wiggling quicksilver minnow from where it was hiding under the pond. Over the pond we drift, heads tipped up to the sun. A woodpecker clings to a teetering pine, digging for ants. Under the pond, an otter claws for freshwater mussels. Over the pond, a sleepy dragonfly lands for a rest. His spindly legs tickle my knee. Let's see it. Under the pond, dragonfly larvae watch what swims by. They catch minnows in monster-fast jaws. Over the pond, the shadows stretch. Ospreys circle on quiet wings. Raccoons and mink stalk the shoreline for supper. Under the pond, with a flip of a tail, a crayfish disappears in the dark. Over the pond, we head for home. We glide, swish, bump, right onto shore as a far-off loon calls good night. The sky turns from sunset to dusk to dark. Night settles over the pond, the prowling catfish and drowsy turtles, the scuttling crayfish and tadpoles turned frogs, wading herons and stalking raccoons. And the hidden world under the pond. Okay, here's the author's note that's about the pond. If you don't want to stick around for this, please just know I'd love for you to subscribe and come back often. The author's note says, ponds and other wetlands provide homes for plants and animals around the world. A pond is one kind of ecosystem, an interconnected community of organisms that interact with one another and with their environment. If you look back through the story, you'll find many examples of those interactions, from the blackbird gathering grass for her nest, to the many animals eating plants and other animals as part of the food chain. In a pond ecosystem, producers like plants and plankton make their own food using sunlight, water, carbon dioxide from the air, and nutrients from the soil or water. Herbivores like the fish, birds, beavers, and moose in this story get their energy from eating plants. Carnivores like the great blue heron, otter, and raccoon eat both plants and animals. At the bottom of the pond are decomposers, bacteria and fungi that break down dead and decayed plants and animals to return nutrients to the soil so the cycle can start all over again. Sometimes ecosystems are threatened by pollution or loss of habitat, but when things are going well, every organism has a job to do, and together they keep their pond healthy. This story was inspired by a canoe trip on Barnum Pond at the Paul Smith's College Visitor Interpretive Center in the Adirondack Mountains. And then there's more information here that you can pause and read yourself about the animals. It talks about the whirligig beetles, brook trout, painted turtles, red-winged blackbirds, caddisfly larvae, moose, beavers, American goldfinch, tadpoles, bullfrogs, great blue heron, pileated woodpeckers, river otters, dragonflies, dragonfly larvae, ospreys, raccoons, mink, crayfish, catfish, and then they've got more information about where to find more about pond life and ecosystems. So that was called Over and Under the Pond. And like I said, I hope you subscribe and come back often. We'll see you around with Stories with Grandma.